Hello, guys! Welcome back to another exciting episode. I'm thrilled to have you with us today. We've got some amazing discussions lined up that you definitely won't want to miss. So grab a seat, kick back, and let's dive right in. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. This is Emma, and you're listening to Let's Talk About English podcast.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ben. We're pumped to have you here today because we're diving into something that's super important if you want to sound like a native English speaker.
Yeah, for real. So today's episode is all about phrasal verbs. You know, those little combinations of verbs and prepositions that totally change the meaning of what you're saying. They're like a huge part of everyday English, and if you don't know them, it can make it really hard to understand people or even sound fluent.
Right? You could be talking to someone and they throw in a phrasal verb and you're just like, what the heck does that mean? It's like a whole other language within a language, you know?
Exactly. And don't worry, guys. We're here to break it down for you today. We'll give you a list of the most common phrasal verbs, explain what they mean, and show you how to use them in real conversations. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end because we're going to share some common mistakes that people make with these. And honestly, it could save you from sounding weird in a conversation. So let's start.
All right. Let's kick it off with one of my all-time favorites, break down. So when we say break down, it can mean a few different things, but the most common way we use it is when something like stops working, right?
Yeah, like your car might break down on the side of the road. Totally happened to me last month. Big mess. I had to call a tow truck to get it to the shop.
Oh man, that sucks. I've been there. Or you could also break down in terms of explaining something, like, I'll break down the process for you. You know, you're simplifying or making something easier to understand.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of like when you're giving someone a step-by-step explanation. So Emma, how would you use that in a sentence?
All right, how about this? Okay, let me break down how we're going to approach this project. You see what I did there? I'm making things simpler for Ben here.
Nice, I get it now. So break down is pretty versatile. It can mean to fail like a machine or to explain something in detail.
Exactly. All right, next up we've got pick up. This one is super common and it's got a ton of meanings too. I think the most common one is when you pick up something physically, like you're grabbing something off the ground or from a table, right?
Yeah, like, hey, could you pick up that book for me? Or I picked up some groceries earlier today.
Right. But pick up can also mean to improve, like when you're talking about your skills or your mood. So, hey, I think I'm starting to pick up on this new language.
Oh, I see. You're getting better at it. So you could also say, things are starting to pick up at work, meaning it's getting busier or more exciting.
Yep, you're totally on the right track. It's like when something becomes more intense or interesting. And we also use pick up to mean to learn. For example, I picked up some great tips from that seminar.
Oh, that makes sense. I love how phrasal verbs can work in so many ways. So let's move on to turn up. That one's easy, right?
Oh, for sure. Turn up can mean to arrive or show up. Like, she's supposed to turn up at 6 p.m., but she's always late.
Yeah, that's me sometimes. I'm always running a bit late. But turn up can also mean to get louder, right?
Yep. If you're listening to music and you want to crank it up, you'd say, turn it up. It's like make the volume higher.
I use that one all the time at parties. Yo, turn the music up, it's party time.
Totally. And you can also turn up when something unexpected happens. Like, she just turned up out of nowhere at my place.
Oh, that's a good one. So it's like when someone shows up unexpectedly. Cool. What's next?
Next, we've got run into. So when you run into someone, it means you see them by chance, usually in a place you didn't expect.
Ah, like I ran into my old friend from college at the supermarket yesterday.
Exactly. Or you could run into a problem, meaning you suddenly face an issue you didn't plan for. Like, I ran into some trouble with my project.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds familiar. So it's all about chance encounters or unexpected obstacles.
You got it. All right, let's throw in one more for now. Set up. This one is huge. It can mean to arrange or prepare something, like setting up a meeting or setting up a party.
Oh yeah, I'll set up the decorations for the party tonight. Or let's set up a meeting for next week.
Yup. And it can also mean to trap someone, like he got set up for the crime he didn't commit.
That's a little darker, but yeah, I get it. Setup can be tricky, but it's super useful.
Exactly. And remember, we're just scratching the surface. There are so many more phrasal verbs that we use all the time. But, we're going to dive into more examples and some common mistakes right after this break.
All right, now that we've got some of those phrasal verbs under our belts, let's talk about how people actually use them in real life and, where things sometimes go wrong.
Oh yeah, I know there are a lot of ways people mess these up, especially with phrasal verbs that look similar but have different meanings. So like pick up and pick out are two that always throw me off.
Oh, definitely. Pick up means to grab something, like we said before, but pick out means more about choosing something, right?
Oh, right. So like, I'm going to pick out a new shirt for the party, not pick up a new shirt unless you're literally grabbing it from the shelf.
Yeah, that's me sometimes. I'm always running a bit late. But pick out can also mean to choose something, like I picked out a gift for my mom's birthday.
Yep, and it's easy to mix them up because they're both related to choosing, but one is more about physically grabbing and the other is more about deciding on something.
Got it. That's a common one. Another big mistake I see is with turn on and turn off. People sometimes confuse them when talking about electronics.
I've heard that a lot. So turn on means to start something, like turn on the TV. But turn off is obviously the opposite, like turn off the lights.
Yep, but I've heard people say, I'm going to turn off the TV, and I'm like, wait, you're turning it on, right? It can get confusing, especially if you're talking about things like lights or machines.
Totally. The key thing here is context. If you're starting something, it's turn on. If you're stopping it, it's turn off. But phrasal verbs like that are super common, so you'll hear them all the time.
Another tricky one I always hear people mess up is look after versus look for. They seem similar, but they're totally different.
Oh, for sure. Look after means to take care of something or someone, like I'm looking after my little brother today. But look for means you're trying to find something, like I'm looking for my keys.
Yeah, that's one that trips people up, especially if English isn't their first language. It's easy to mix those up. You might say, I'm looking after my keys, when you really mean you're searching for them.
Exactly. And that can make it sound like you're taking care of your keys, like they're a pet or something, instead of just hunting for them. That's where context really helps again.
One more I want to mention is give up. So give up means to quit, like, I'm not going to give up on this project. But people sometimes use it wrong, like, I'm going to give up my project, which doesn't really make sense unless you're literally handing it over to someone else.
Oh, yeah, that's a weird one. You're right. Give up is like quitting. You'd say, I'm giving up smoking, or I gave up trying to fix my car. But give up my project sounds like you're passing it along, which is totally different.
Yep, that's why it's so important to know these phrasal verbs inside and out, especially in casual conversations. It could make a huge difference in how you sound.
Yeah, for sure. And trust me, even native speakers mess up phrasal verbs sometimes. We've all said things that didn't make sense or that made someone laugh because we used the wrong one.
Oh man, I remember one time I was talking to my friend and I said, I'm going to look up my homework, and they looked at me like I was crazy. I meant I was going to search for it, but look up is more about finding information, not something physical, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one. Look up is definitely about searching for info, like when you look up a word in a dictionary. But if you're talking about something physical, like your homework, you would say, I'm going to pick up my homework or grab my homework.
Exactly. So phrasal verbs can be tricky, but the more you practice, the better you'll get at using them correctly. But it's okay if you mess up once in a while. It's all part of the learning process.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, guys, the key is to listen to how people use them in context. It's not just about memorizing definitions. It's about getting the feel for when and how to use them. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. You'll learn and get better over time.
Absolutely. And I know after this episode, you'll feel a lot more confident using these phrasal verbs. We've gone over a lot of examples today, but there's so much more out there.
Yep, and we've got more to talk about in the next segment, so stay tuned for some cultural context and how these phrasal verbs fit into everyday American life. Don't go anywhere.
So now that we've gone through some examples and mistakes, let's talk about the cultural side of phrasal verbs. I mean, they're super common in everyday conversation in the US, right? But it's not just about knowing the meaning. There's also a cultural vibe behind them.
Oh, totally. For real, phrasal verbs can tell you a lot about how people talk, especially in casual settings. Like, think about how often Americans say things like hang out or chill. These are phrasal verbs, but they're so ingrained in the culture, you wouldn't even think of them as like formal English. It's just the way we speak.
Right. So hang out is like when you're just chilling with your friends, right? No big plans, just kicking back. Like, I'm gonna hang out with my buddies this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's just spending time with people, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. And chill is similar. It's like saying, let's relax, but it's more casual. It's a vibe, you know?
Oh, I totally get it. It's all about that laid back, no stress energy. But if you don't know these phrasal verbs, you're gonna miss out on understanding the tone of a conversation. Like if someone says, I'm just gonna chill, it's totally different from, I'm just gonna relax. The word choice gives you the feeling, right?
Exactly. The vibe is everything. And it's the same with phrasal verbs like pick up when you're talking about improving something, like your skills. You might hear someone say, I'm picking up the pace at work, which is like, I'm getting better at work. It has a motivational energy behind it, like you're moving forward, getting things done.
Ooh, yeah, I see that. So phrasal verbs aren't just for grammar. They really shape how we express feelings, energy, and even our attitudes toward things.
Yes, exactly. It's like using turn up in a party context. When you say, let's turn up tonight, you're talking about having a good time, making it bigger, more exciting. It's all about the energy you bring.
Oh man, I love that one. And it's not just for parties either. You can say, let's turn up the volume, right? So it's about adding more energy to whatever's happening.
Yep, it's a little bit of hype, a little bit of excitement. And it's not just young people who use these phrasal verbs either. Honestly, you'll hear people of all ages using them. It's like these expressions are part of the American experience.
For real. And one of the coolest things is how phrasal verbs can reflect different regions or cities in the US. Like if you go to New York, you'll hear people saying, I'm going to hit up this place, which means they're going to visit or check out a spot. That's a phrasal verb, but you might not hear it as much in other parts of the country.
Oh, absolutely. Every part of the U.S. has its own little way of using phrasal verbs, and it's like you can hear the city or region in someone's speech. It's pretty cool how that works.
Yeah, and there's also the generational difference. Like younger people might say crash when they mean sleep, like, I'm going to crash at my friend's house. But older generations might just say, I'm going to stay over at my friend's house.
Right, and that's a perfect example of how phrasal verbs evolve. The more familiar you are with them, the more natural you'll sound. It's all about being in the flow of language and knowing what people mean when they drop these expressions into conversation.
Yeah, and honestly, knowing these phrasal verbs makes you sound more like a native speaker. It's not just about the words themselves. It's about knowing when to use them and how they fit into the rhythm of normal, everyday speech.
Definitely. And it's not only useful for speaking. If you're trying to understand American TV shows or movies, knowing phrasal verbs is like unlocking a whole new level of understanding. It's like, now I get it.
Right? Like when you hear, she's really turning up at that event, you'll know it's not just about being there, but about making an impact, being noticed.
Exactly. And it's like the more phrasal verbs you know, the better you'll be at understanding that deeper meaning. It's like a secret code almost. Once you get it, you're in the club.
Ha, I love that. A secret code for sounding fluent in English. And honestly, it's not that hard to get the hang of. The more you listen, the more you'll start picking up on them naturally.
For sure. And you can practice in everyday situations. Next time you're out and about, just pay attention to how people are using phrasal verbs. It's pretty cool how they come up in conversation.
Totally. It's like a little hidden gem in the language. And the best part is, once you've got a few key ones down, it'll be second nature to you. It'll feel like you've been using them your whole life.
Yep. So I think we've covered a lot of ground on how phrasal verbs shape American culture and language. But before we wrap up, let's quickly go over a couple more to help you feel even more confident.
All right, we've made it to the final part, and I hope you guys are feeling way more confident about using phrasal verbs in your everyday conversations. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground, right?
Oh, totally. I can't believe how many we went through. From pick up to turn up, these phrasal verbs are essential for sounding natural in English. If you start using them, trust me, you'll fit right in with native speakers.
Yeah, and remember, phrasal verbs aren't just words. They're expressions, they're vibes. When you use them, you're adding a whole new layer to your language skills. It's about being part of the conversation, you know?
Exactly. And like we talked about earlier, phrasal verbs also reflect different cultures and regions within the U.S. So knowing them helps you understand the little nuances in how people communicate, whether you're in New York, California, or Texas.
For real, that's why they're so important. It's not just about getting the definition right, but using them in the right way to really connect with people. Plus, it makes your conversations sound way more fluid and natural.
Absolutely. Now, let's do a quick recap of the phrasal verbs we covered today, just to make sure you've got them locked down.
First up, we had break down, which means to stop working or to explain something in detail. Example, my car broke down yesterday, or let me break down the steps for you.
Then we talked about pick up. It's all about grabbing something or improving your skills, like I picked up my keys, or I'm picking up Spanish pretty quickly.
Next was turn up, which is all about increasing the energy, whether it's a party or turning up the volume on your music. You could say, let's turn up the music, or things are starting to turn up at work.
And then there was run into, which means to unexpectedly encounter something or someone, like I ran into my old friend at the coffee shop, or I ran into some problems with the project.
And let's not forget set up. We used it to mean arranging or organizing something, like I set up a meeting, or I'm setting up my new computer.
Those are just a few of the ones we covered today, but honestly, there are so many more out there, and you'll start picking them up naturally the more you hear them.
Exactly. And it's okay if you don't remember every single one right away. The more you listen, practice, and use them, the more they'll become part of your vocabulary.
100%. So before we wrap up today's episode, we want to challenge you to use at least one new phrasal verb in your conversation this week. You'd be surprised how quickly it'll become second nature.
And remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you've got to get comfortable using these phrasal verbs in the right context. So keep practicing and paying attention to how people around you use them.
Yes, and don't forget to go back to this episode whenever you need a little refresher. We'll always be here to help you level up your English.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share this episode with your friends, and leave us a review. We want to know what you think.
Yes, please. And stay tuned for next week's episode where we'll dive into even more awesome language tips. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we'll catch you next time on Let's Talk About English podcast.
See ya, everyone. Keep practicing those phrasal verbs and take care.